So, we actually set out today to dive into something incredibly cool. Plant extrachromosomal circular DNA, or eccDNA for short. We were totally ready to nerd out on how these tiny circular structures, which, by the way, are packed with transposable elements, protein-coding genes, and repetitive sequences, basically act as this amazing driver for genome plasticity. It's how plants survive really harsh environments and abiotic stress. But right as we were about to pull up this dense, fascinating data on PubMed, we hit a literal digital brick wall. Yep, a CAPTCHA. Instead of groundbreaking plant genomics, we got a blank screen and a digital gatekeeper. So, we're pivoting. We're going to treat this incredibly annoying, everyday interruption as a sort of micro-mystery. Let's decode this CAPTCHA and see exactly what's happening behind the scenes when the internet suddenly shuts its doors on you.
Okay, let's dive into this. Take a look at the very first clue we get from this reCAPTCHA interception. Notice the phrasing here? Checking your browser. It is active. It is happening right in that very millisecond. Before we can even get a foot in the door of the National Institutes of Health database, arguably the premier repository for biological research, the system just halts us. And it doesn't ask for a password, right? It asks for a pause. In that tiny fraction of a second, this invisible algorithm is meticulously inspecting our browser's digital footprint. It's hunting for behavioral anomalies. Here we are just trying to read up on plant genetics, and the system is entirely focused on reading us.
Which brings us to Section 1, the suspect. Automated queries. Here is the formal accusation. It says, your computer or network may be sending automated queries. Boom. The system has officially flagged our origin point as the prime suspect in this little digital drama. And I think it's super important to catch the word may here. The system isn't 100% sure, but it's seen enough suspicious activity to get defensive. Maybe we click through pages a little too fast, or maybe our IP address is shared with hundreds of other people on a university or corporate network. Whatever it was, it triggered a reflex. We aren't just curious researchers looking up eccDNA anymore. To the server, we are a potential threat.
So what exactly does that accusation actually mean? Well, an automated query is basically a request sent by a machine, like a script or a bot, rather than a real human physically clicking a mouse. Think of data scrapers trying to rip thousands of scientific papers in a matter of seconds. Now, PubMed's servers are incredibly valuable. They hold millions of pieces of vital research. If they just let automated queries run totally unchecked, those servers would eventually buckle and crash under the massive load, which means nobody gets access. So by hitting the brakes on our normal browsing, the system is essentially throwing up a flare. It's demanding to know, is there a real, live human at the wheel, or just a mindless script mining for data?
And that leads us right into Section 2, protecting the network. And this brilliantly illustrates the philosophical stance the database is taking. It says, to protect our users, we can't process your request right now. The system is actually framing this denial of service as an act of altruism for everybody else. It's such a fascinating dynamic when you think about it. By completely shutting down our access to that plant Genomics article, it is actively shielding its own infrastructure. It's basically saying that the integrity of the entire network is way more important than your individual request, especially since it currently thinks we might be a robot.
Now, if we look really closely at the fine print on that error page, we find this little forensic clue left for blocked users. It's a specific Google help page number, 86640. This isn't just some random piece of trivia, it's a breadcrumb trail. For an innocent user who has absolutely no idea why they've suddenly been locked out, this 5-digit code is literally the only lifeline they give you. It points you to highly specific documentation explaining exactly why an IP might get temporarily blacklisted. It's honestly like a bouncer turning you away at the door, but politely handing you the manager's business card on your way out.
All right, moving on to Section 3, the verification resolution.
So this creates a highly choreographed timeline of instructions. Step 1, as we saw, the system checks your browser behind the scenes. Step 2, you are instructed to just exist and wait for an automatic redirect. Step 3, if the machine fails to clear you automatically, then human intervention is required and you have to manually click a link. And finally, the ultimate step, you have to actively verify your humanity. I mean, this timeline just beautifully captures the friction between everyday human browsing and heavy-duty machine security. You are literally forced to conform to the exact pacing of the algorithm before you're allowed to read human knowledge.
Let's zero in on that mandatory wait time for a second. 5 seconds. I know, it sounds incredibly brief, but in the context of internet browsing, where pages usually load in milliseconds, 5 seconds is an absolute eternity. It's this mandatory cooling-off period. During those 5 seconds, background scripts are frantically evaluating your mouse movements, your browser history, your cookies. They're silently calculating a risk score. If your score is good, great, you pass right through the gate. But if not,
the friction really starts to ramp up. And notice the totally contradictory messaging we get hit with if that automatic redirect fails. On one hand, the text abruptly tells you to try again later. It's a blatant dismissal. It's suggesting the server is overwhelmed or your IP is completely blocked and you should probably just walk away. But directly juxtaposed right next to that is a button fiercely demanding that you verify. It's an ultimatum. Go away or stay here and prove you're human. It really highlights the rigid, unfeeling logic of these automated security systems.
So we started out today wanting to dive deep into plant eccDNA. We wanted to see how plants use gene regulation and DNA damage repair to tolerate abiotic stress. But instead, we ended up experiencing our own weird form of stress adaptation, digital stress adaptation. We had to navigate the exact mechanisms designed to keep automated bots out of our most vital repositories of human knowledge. The server was protecting itself from the stress of a bot attack, in much the same way a plant protects its genome from a harsh physical environment. Kinda poetic, right? It leaves us with this lingering thought about the everyday digital friction we all experience. Every single time we cross one of these invisible internet checkpoints, we are basically taking a micro-Turing test. So the next time a blank screen stops you dead in your tracks before you can access your research, it's really worth asking yourself, in the eyes of the machine, are you absolutely sure you aren't a robot?